Hello and a very warm welcome to Cultural Communication Confidence with me, Victoria Reynoldson. And a very warm welcome to this very first episode, How Does Communication Help My Career? Today we're going to be talking about that impact. How does communicating effectively in English help you reach the next level in your career? We'll also be talking about the communication gap that comes up. Why do you experience it? How does it come about? And then importantly, what you can do about it. So let's get straight into today's episode. So to start with, let's talk about why communication is so important for your career. I'm quite passionate about this because this came from my own background. I worked in large international companies in the past, and I saw individuals who were really expert and talented at what they did, but didn't always have the confidence to speak up and share their expertise and knowledge. Sometimes it was meetings that they struggled with certain groups. Sometimes it was presentations. Perhaps you recognize this too, that there are situations and groups of people for you where communication is challenging when you're working in English. The reality is, the way you communicate is not just what you say, it's also how you say it. And that could include your nonverbal gestures, your body language. It could be your tone of voice. It could also be how confident you look. And that's really important because the way we communicate has a great relationship to how we are influencing, creating impact, and building our relationships with different groups, whether that's internally or externally. Communication is going to make that difference to how you're performing. Because if you can communicate well and build those relationships, then you can deliver your results. You can demonstrate that you can perform well in your current role. When we do that consistently over time and we perform and deliver those results, then of course that builds up our personal reputation. People trust us and understand that we are able to work with lots of different people and communicate well in all those situations. And clearly, if we do that over a period of time, then we build up that inside reputation within the company that leads us to be considered for the next level, whether that's a promotion or a bigger role or expanding what we do. So that is why communication is so important for your career. But the challenge comes when you experience the communication gap. So what do I mean by this? My clients experience the communication gap in a variety of situations. It could be about the groups of people. So, for example, it could be with senior stakeholders. It could be externally with customers who are more challenging. It could be with certain individuals who perhaps are not so easy to work with. So there could be a variety of groups of people or individuals where the communication gap comes up. Alternatively, it could be about the context, the situation. So it might be that you are somebody who is broadening their role and stretching themselves, and therefore that's creating some challenges in the way that you communicate. It might also be that you've relocated recently and you have moved to the UK where I'm based, or you've relocated to another English-speaking country. And that's creating a step change in how you need to communicate, and that may bring a communication gap. The reality is that the communication gap sometimes does come up, even if we've previously been very confident. And it might be that you just don't feel 100% yourself or fully able to express exactly what you're trying to say. It might be that you're fantastic at what you do, you've got this expertise and knowledge, but it's just not coming up in the way or coming across in the way that you want it to do. So let's move into the next stage, which is so important. What can we do about it? So we can bridge this communication gap. And I'm going to share with you a number of steps today for you to be able to do that. For me, it starts with self-awareness. Now, I'm not saying that you just need to be aware of this communication gap, but you need to define it. Who does it come up with? When does it happen? In which situations? What types of meetings or presentations do you notice it happening? So get really specific. Ask yourself these questions and see if you can work out the particular situations and people contexts where you notice this. Self-reflection is good, but I would also encourage you to go and get some feedback. Either ask a trusted colleague or perhaps your manager and ask them for feedback specifically on your communication style and how you're coming across and connecting with others. Do make sure that you don't dismiss just the positive comments and focus just instead on perhaps what you need to do better. It's always about balance. So focus both on what you're good at and also take the feedback, which is perhaps about your development, and activate that. And by the way, if you are somebody who either doesn't have somebody to ask for feedback, or perhaps you're feeling uncomfortable about asking colleagues, then please do ask me. I am always very open to giving feedback to people if you're looking for an objective view. So now you have that awareness from self-reflection and hopefully some feedback as well. I now need to mention 2 dangers before you think about activating and developing the communication areas that you need to work on. The first one is the perfectionism danger. Now, I do come across this sometimes with my clients. They say to me, I want to be 100% perfect in the way that I communicate. I want to sound like I'm a fluent English speaker or equivalent to somebody who has English as their first language. For me, this isn't always the best target to go for. And in fact, you can be a very confident communicator, but still not be perfect. And I put this in inverted commas. I think for me, what is much better to aim for and what I focus on with my clients is the concept of communication agility. I will talk a lot more about this in future episodes, but briefly here, communication agility is the flexibility to be able to communicate in a variety of ways, whatever comes up, if things go well, but also if things don't go so well as well. So more about that in future episodes. But the other part of this, the other danger, is that people sometimes compare themselves to others. Maybe you've had this as well, where you look at somebody who's an incredibly confident communicator and you say, wow, why can't I be just like them? Why aren't I there already if I've started to work on this? The reality is, people who appear very confident in their communication may not always be confident. They may have their off days, days when they're feeling low, tired, or they're not at their best. There may be situations and groups of people that they find challenging, their own specific communication gap. So don't be fooled by looking at others and saying they are perfect or they are 100% confident all the time. Confidence is a journey and it's not a static concept either. It goes up and down. And the final part of this, therefore, is about activating. Once you know the specific areas, the contexts that come up when you have this communication gap, then you can make sure you write an action plan to work on these areas. It might be that you need to get more practice, and actually by the frequency of practice, you build up the confidence and feel more comfortable in these situations and start to close your communication confidence gap. It might be that you need to learn some specific skills and strategies to help you in these situations. And by the way, you're here in the right place if you want to learn those, because I will be sharing every single week lots of these communication skills and strategies. And perhaps it is that you just need more feedback and regular feedback. And that is something certainly that I offer as part of my programs. So think about that. How are you going to take the steps forwards? How are you going to keep motivating yourself towards your goal? And remember, you'll be making progress. So do make sure you celebrate your wins along the way. So that brings us to a bit of a close on this episode. And I would love to hear from you on this topic, particularly as this is episode 1 from the podcast. Have you yourself experienced this communication gap? When do you notice it coming up for you? With which groups of people or what situations? How do you deal with that today? And what works or doesn't work for you? I would absolutely love it if you would get in touch and let me know. It's really interesting to get your own experiences as part of this. So please do get in touch with me over on LinkedIn. My personal profile is Victoria Reynoldson. And as my surname is difficult, I will spell it. It is RENNOLDSON. And I would love it if you would connect with me, message me, tell me and share with me your own particular situations and your own communication gap. And of course, because this is a brand new podcast, it would mean a lot to me if you have enjoyed this episode, that you subscribe to the show. If you've really enjoyed it, please feel free to rate and leave me a review. It really does make a big difference to the launch of this show. And for me, I'm really excited to come to the end of this first episode, and we've got many more episodes planned on the themes of communication and confidence. And so thank you so much for joining me today for this first episode, and I really look forward to seeing you next time on Cultural Communication Confidence.